the summer edition of the Talkin' Buds podcast, a remote edition of the Talkin' Buds podcast, as I'm feeling a little under the weather this evening, and thus we are not in studio together. But there was absolutely no way. Yes, there was absolutely no way that we weren't going to convene on NHL free agency day, because Ryan, we interrupt the summer hiatus with an important discussion surrounding what was hands down our most discussed topic of the 2021-2022 season, goaltending.
Yes, sir.
Out with the tandem of Jack Campbell and Peter Mrazek, and in with the tandem of Matt Murray and Ilya Samsonov. Before we lay down our takes on this, let's just go through the chain of events and catch everybody up. Although anyone who's watching or listening to this already knows what happened, but let's just go through it for our own sake. Monday night, the news broke that the Leafs had acquired Matt Murray along with a 3rd and 7th round draft choice from the Ottawa Senators. The Sens will also retain 25% of Murray's contract, which puts his cap hit with the Leafs at $4.68 million for the next 2 seasons. And Leafs Nation subsequently freaked out. Then today, they signed former Washington Capitals goaltender Ilya Samsonov to a 1-year, $1.8 million contract, and he will presumably be a tandem with Murray. You and I both admittedly aren't Ilya Samsonov experts. We saw him a little bit last year and know that he's a former first-round pick who has a career .902 save percentage. And from what I heard on the radio today, had a pretty good year his first season with the Capitals and a lackluster year last year, to the point in which the Capitals didn't extend him a qualifying offer. Now that I've got that out of the way, go off, Ryan. Talk to me about the Leafs' new goaltending tandem.
All right. Do you want me to start with... Okay, let me start with Matt Murray, okay?
Yes.
Matt Murray is a desperate play for someone who has somewhat of a reputation in this league. Jack Campbell just led the Toronto Maple Leafs. And if you look around one of the hardest things to do in this league is to find a number one goaltender. Like, not everybody drafts an Andrei Vasilevsky or an Igor Shesterkin. So they're in a situation where their starting goalie had to leave. And do I absolutely love the Leafs getting Matt Murray? Not really, because of the track record. But can I understand it? I can understand it. And we can talk about the semantics of retention of salary. That's a separate conversation. But if you're just to look at the type of goaltending that Matt Murray is going to give you, what do we know about him? He has injury problems. Who else had injury problems? Jack Campbell, Freddie Anderson. Apparently his attitude's kind of weird. Who else had a weird attitude? Jack Campbell. So it's just, to me, and also
Jack Campbell, I think, was more mental as opposed to attitude. Like, he was in the toughest guy mentally.
Mental. I kind of mean the same thing when I say that, to be honest.
I think what you're getting at here, which is where I wanted to go with this too, is, do you think the tandem of Murray and Samsonov is that much worse or better than the tandem of Campbell and Mrazek? I say no.
Okay, here's what pisses me off about this conversation. Why are we acting like Jack Campbell won the Vezina Trophy? Like,
Thank you.
Like, he came in, they signed a guy, what was he, like 30, 29 when they got him? He came here, he ended up working out as a backup goaltender, which was great. And then he got an opportunity to start because Freddie Anderson was faking an injury. But he played pretty well. Like, overall, to me, Jack Campbell's career as a Maple Leaf, to me, is a success. Because he came in, no experience, a guy who's always fell short. He came here, and I thought he gave them pretty good number one goaltending minutes when he was playing well. And in the playoffs, he wasn't that bad. But I'm not going to sit here and pretend that losing Jack Campbell is like the worst thing ever. The guy he's had one good year. He's been a starter for 1 year in the league. Like,
I know. And like pretending that Matt Murray is this huge downgrade to Jack Campbell. Listen, this is how I look at it. Okay. If you look around they were kind of between a rock and a hard place. Like if you look around at the goalie situation in general and who was available, from all accounts, they were in on Marc-Andre Fleury. Marc-Andre Fleury decided to go back to Minnesota. So nothing you can do there. Darcy Kemper. Based on what he got from the Washington Capitals, that would have meant that Eric Shalgren would have probably been the backup, because between Murray and Samsonov, their combined cap hit is $6.4 million. So they probably didn't want to go that route with Darcy Kemper. So you look around, it's like, well, what else are they gonna do? Like, it's just, they were in a tough spot. And I know that the naysayers will say you managed yourself into this position, and I get that, and there's credence to that.
I don't know.
But like, it just kind of is what it is. Like, I think I like the pickup of Samsonov. I know he didn't have a great year last year, but it's a guy who was a first round pick who you want to push Murray and hopefully make Murray better.
Rob, this is leading exactly into my point right here. The fact that I hear that they manage themselves in the situation makes no sense to me. They didn't manage themselves in the situation. The problem with this organization is they do not place enough emphasis on scouting goaltenders. They don't. Yeah. When have they ever drafted and developed a goalie in the history of this franchise? Never. Felix Potvin, maybe. That's it. That's it. And what is Ilya Samsonov? A guy who you wish was a prospect in the Leafs organization. He had a bad year last year. I get it. And the Capitals are kind of still in the win now mode, so they didn't qualify him. They had to move on, whatever. But like, when I look at Samsonov, it's like, this is the type of goalie prospect, quote unquote, that this team has been lacking. They didn't manage themselves in this situation. For an organization that has this much money and this much resource to put into something, I don't get how you don't have every single scout just scouring the earth to try to find a goaltending prospect.
Yeah.
And the thing I like about Samsonov, even though he didn't have a good year last year, is he's 25 years old.
Yeah.
You're taking a flyer. This is the type of goalie you wish this organization drafted in the past. That's the problem with this team. It's just, they didn't manage themselves in anything. Freddie Anderson was flamed out. Let's just be honest. Flamed out, faked an injury. What did he do for the Carolina last year? Nothing. Got injured.
Yep.
Jack Campbell, to me, flash in the pan. He's going to go to Edmonton, have fun losing in the second round against the most division in the Western Conference.
Yeah.
So it's just, I don't know, man. You're right. They were put in a rock and a hard place. Very difficult situation to manage, to pick the right guy. And to me, they just did the best they could. I'm not trying to defend Kyle Dubas and his whole tenure here, but to me, they did the best they could with what they had.
Yeah, I totally agree with you. And
yeah,
you're hoping that taking Murray out of Ottawa and bringing him here, and everyone's made the Sue Greyhound connection, and admittedly, it is pretty funny.
It is pretty eye rolling at this point. To be honest with you. Yeah,
but like, he's familiar with Sheldon Keefe. He's familiar with the Leafs organization. He's familiar with like their head of goalie operations, whose name is escaping me at the moment. And he seemed really excited to come here. He's a guy who is younger than Jack Campbell, has 2 Stanley Cup rings.
Yeah, exactly. Look at the resumes.
Yeah,
like Jack Campbell didn't even start 50 games in the NHL, and he was a guy who never lived up to anything. Matt Murray, yeah, he's had a bad 4 years. And I'm not saying because of his pedigree and his reputation, he's going to come here and play good. I'm not saying that. But if you were just to look at the 2 resumes, you didn't know any goalie. You were hiring a goalie, and you put the 2 resumes down on the table, and you had to pick a guy. You're going to pick Matt Murray because he's won 2 Stanley Cups. Jack Campbell started 1 year in the NHL.
Now, the key for Matt Murray, like we said last year about Jack Campbell, is he's got to stay healthy. Like, the guy's injured his entire time with the Senators organization. But that's where I like the pickup. I'm with you. I like the pickup of Samsonov to sort of like balance out and sort of push Murray and be like, listen, if this kid plays well, we're gonna move off you, or we're gonna Robidas Island you, and we're gonna give this kid a contract extension at the end of the year. What do you say about one of the things I saw people freaking out the most about is you have to extend Austin Matthews at the end of this season. And this is what you do. You go and get this tandem of Matt Murray and Ilya Samsonov. No, but this is people were melting down on Monday night when this Matt Murray thing came
Yeah,
out.
it
And
was pretty wild, man. It was negative reaction across the board.
was it is and I'm with you. Is Matt Murray like my first choice? And am I sitting here going like, no? But what? Look at the situation. What else are they going to do? And one thing you hit on that I absolutely love is like, can we stop pretending like we have a Vezina winning goaltender? The Leafs had like below league average goaltending in the back part of the season last year.
Jack Campbell had one of the worst like 2 months in the history of the franchise.
Yeah, like so
he was awful for
Yeah.
2 months. Terrible.
So if this team, they had below league average goaltending for the second half of the season last year, and this team still finished with 115 points and had a record-setting regular season. So all they need is league average to above league average goaltending theoretically, and like just don't Matt Murray, Ilya Samsonov, just don't give up the back-breaking goal. It's the exact same thing we said all year last year to Campbell and Mrazek. This episode of the Talkin' Buds podcast is powered by BetStamp. Use the BetStamp app for the best sports tracking and odds finding. With the BetStamp app, you can line shop across all your various sportsbook accounts and find the best value for your wagers. Hit the link in the description below and use promo code BUDS to let them know that we sent you.
Do you buy the point though that you just traded Peter Mrazek, who was making $1 million less than Matt Murray?
Peter
or
Mrazek
pretty
sucks.
close to that?
I don't buy anything to do with Peter Mrazek.
It's just
Peter
I kept hearing the
Mrazek
point
sucks.
today where it's like you just moved assets to move Mrazek to basically get a guy who's been Peter Mrazek for the past like 3 years.
Okay, listen. Maybe so. I'm gonna have to wait and see that with my own eyes, because what I saw last year with Peter Mrazek was the worst goaltending I've ever seen in all my years watching hockey. It was that bad.
You know what I got out of this? Like, because we can argue the talent of these goaltenders and what they're going to bring in terms of what they're going to bring in net. But all I got out of this was just how much I hate a hard salary cap.
Oh,
man.
it's terrible.
It's the worst thing of all time because the margin for error for general managers in this league is this big. It's this big. You better draft right. You better have guys on big contracts, and you better draft right to have the guys on the small contracts. It's just I'm someone who is kind of down for Dubas to move on. I'm kind of down for a new voice because I'm kind of sick of him in a way, but it's just when we're debating $1 million, it's just this league sucks in the margin. And I feel bad for some of these general managers because the margin for error is just so small. It's just minuscule, man. Like I don't know, man. Like,
well, and to your point, and you look at some of the contracts that were handed out today, it's like, oh my goodness, like what like. It's people lose their minds this time of year, man. It's wild.
I mean, it's just how long do you think like the Leafs have been in a goaltending controversy since like Ed Belfour left the team? Basically, like this isn't new to this fan base. Freddie Anderson came in, he had a good couple of years, flamed out in the playoffs, didn't end well. Time to move on. And you got the best out of Jack Campbell that you could. And see you later. Like that's how I feel. It's just you want to go to Edmonton, fine. That's not the answer for that team. I'll tell you that right now,
this. Man. You and I were discussing this a couple of weeks ago when it was rumored that Campbell was going to sign with the Oilers, and you said, "Is that not the most Oilers move of all time?"
Here's what I see when I look at the Edmonton Oilers. It's like if you're picking up the Leafs table scraps, that says everything you need to know right there.
Yeah.
You play in a way easier division than we do. If the Leafs were in that division, they would have won in the first round. I honestly 100% believe that. They took the almost 3 times defending Stanley Cup champions to the brink. And this team gets a freebie because they played a bunch of crap teams to get to the Western Conference final. And they think Jack Campbell's going to be their answer to a Stanley Cup. Bullshit. Like,
I know.
Good luck. Okay. Take Hyman, take Campbell. I'm sure Mikheyev will be there any day now. Who knows?
No,
Like,
Mikheyev signed in Vancouver today.
What? I missed that?
Yes.
Oh my goodness.
Yes.
I
Mikheyev
did
signed
not
in
see
Vancouver
that.
today for like four something.
Oh.
Yeah.
Vancouver, Edmonton, same thing basically. Crap teams in a crap division.
Yeah.
4 million off.
Yeah.
Dude, it's getting a little silly here. Like, all day I've been hearing about
Ilya Mikheyev signed a 4-year deal with the Canucks for $4.75 million.
That's disgusting.
I know.
I did not see that. I saw Gaudreau left and signed somewhere. I saw Giroux. I saw
I was going to ask you.
I saw
we're going to get into that.
Yeah.
We're going to get into that
I
in a
did
minute.
not see the Ilya Mikheyev thing slip over my desk.
Yeah, so that's okay. We're going to talk about some of the free agent signings in a minute. I want to talk about some of the other Leaf signings today. They picked up some depth pieces in Nicholas Aubé-Kubel from the Stanley Cup champion Colorado Avalanche. His recent claim to fame is being the guy who dropped and dented the Stanley Cup during the Avalanche's team photo.
Yeah, he's that dummy.
Yeah. And Adam Gaudette, a depth piece from Ottawa.
Yeah.
And Ryan making his return to the Toronto Maple Leafs. Dangerous Dennis Malgin, all 5'9" of them, back with the Leafs, baby. Let's go.
Well, let me ask you, when they go out and sign all these depth pieces, as a Leaf fan, like, what is going through your head?
So I'm glad you asked that. When I watched Kyle Dubas's press conference today, I was really taken aback by his facials and his body language. He looks like a guy who's stressed. Like, he doesn't look like a guy who's like relaxed and like whatever. He looks like a guy who wants to answer those questions and get the hell out of there. Dude, you look at the bottom 6, but also who's going to play the wing on the second line? Kerfoot? Like, he said today, in fairness, Dubas did say today, they're looking at making a move or two over the summer. It's like, yeah, I look at your bottom 6 depth and I should think so. It's like, that is not a Stanley Cup bottom 6. So I don't know what they're going to do. They got to move a piece out. I'm looking at Alex Kerfoot. I don't know what you could get back from him. I'm also looking at Jake Muzzin. Don't know what you could get back from him. But yeah, listen, do I think they'll be right there in the division again? Sure. Do I think this is a Stanley Cup roster as currently constructed? No, not even close.
No.
So he's got a whole off season and he's got until the deadline next year to make whatever tweaks he needs to make. But there's also part of me that when I see him go and get former Sioux Greyhound Matt Murray, and I see him go and get Dangerous Dennis today, like, I don't want to say worried, but there's part of me that is concerned that he's looking at this season and saying, this is my last kick at the can. I'm going to do it my way, 100% my way. So I'm going to go get all the guys I want to get, all the mid-size skilled forwards I can. And I'm going to try and Kyle Dubas this one last hurrah. And then if not, I get fired. And the Matthews extension is somebody else's problem. And dealing with year 2 of Matt Murray is somebody else's problem, et cetera, et cetera.
Yeah, I see kind of a flashback to last season because they signed Kampf, Bunting, Kasha, and I was like, we were making fun of that. We didn't know anything about these guys. Yeah. And then Ilya Mikheyev's coming back from injury. And he was a laughing stock last season because he couldn't put the puck in the ocean. Yeah. So every time, this season I'm going in with the same. I'm going in with a revised take on these depth pieces. I'm not going to judge any of these guys, because I judged all those guys last season and they came in and I thought all of them were pretty effective in their own way. They ended up kind of working out.
Discourse today on Twitter from Avalanche fans about Aubé-Kubel, and they were like, you're getting a good, gritty bottom 6 guy.
I'm not going to come here with an absolute hot take about a depth piece. You know, I don't know anything about these guys. No one knows anything about anybody. They come in here, we don't know. We're gonna see. That's what I see. It's a flashback to last season, where last season I was chirping those guys, so I'm gonna come in with an open mind. But it's just,
yeah,
I don't know, man. It's just this season. It's just, you know what happened to Kyle Dubas? As soon as he signed that $11 million contract for John Tavares, he signed his death wish right there. Like, that's what I see when they go out and sign all these no-name guys. You know why they do that? Because they have no choice.
No money.
They have no money. That's all they can do.
You can't go get like a $3.5 million third liner.
Absolutely not. You can't. Like, this is why they have to make these moves. It's nothing to do with Kyle Dubas and his like some of the players he picks that are 5'4" and are 100 pounds. Like, yeah, that's a little eye rolling. You could probably find a guy who's a little bit stronger, could forecheck a little bit better, but they're screwed. Like, it's just, it becomes more apparent every day. It's just, as soon as they sign that contract, it was over. And this is the only move he has, to go out and try to find guys who can come in and surprise everybody. And since these guys have such low expectations, if they come in and play somewhat well, Leafs Nation's going to be like, Joe, you know what? Kyle made a mistake there, but man, he brought in those guys. Good for him. Like, it's just, that's their only move. They don't have any other move.
We touched on this earlier, but I want to come back around to it. How concerned are you? Because this is probably we're going to go back on our summer hiatus here, unless some major story drops. So I want to get this out of the way now. Given the recent developments, how concerned are you about their ability to extend Austin Matthews at the end of next season?
So this is a hard question. This is the hardest question you can ask any Leaf fan. Let me just go quick. Okay. I'm not as pessimistic as others. But I'm just going to say that. I'm not as pessimistic as others, but I'm not confident. I'm kind of 50-50, to be honest with you.
I think you want to know what I think? I think it's got nothing to do with Toronto or whatever. I think Austin Matthews is a new age NHL hockey player, and I think he's going to test free agency regardless, and he might resign with the Leafs. It might very well happen. But I think he's a new wave type of player. And I think that's what he's going to do. So, honestly, to help your case, win a freaking playoff round. Like, Jesus.
You know, honestly, the him testing free agency is a very good point. If you really think about it, it's just, it makes absolutely no sense for him not to do it. Mm-hmm. And that makes me sick to my stomach. Yeah. It makes me want to just burn every Leaf jersey that I have.
Yeah.
But if you were to put yourself in his position, like, let's be honest here, this contract is going to be the
richest contract,
the biggest contract in the NHL, in NHL's history. Like, there's just no two ways about it. It doesn't matter if he's going back with the Leafs or anybody else. And teams will outbid the Leafs. Like, they better be ready to put every cent they have on the table. And you know what? In return, we better be ready to deal with the consequences of putting every cent on the table, because I love Austin Matthews. He's a Hart Trophy winner. Your team is nowhere without him. Yeah. But can you win a Stanley Cup with a guy making that much money? Probably not. So it's just, it's a double-edged sword here. You got to pay this guy just outrageous money in NHL standards to stay here. But at the end of the day, you also have to deal with the consequences of what that's going to do to your team.
Yeah.
It's going to ruin it. So, but honestly, I'd rather hear and ruin the team than him gone, because if he leaves, you're going to be looking for Austin Matthews for the next 20 years. And I just can't.
Yeah, I know that. I have nightmares about it. All right, moving on. Before we get out of here, I want to comment. I have a bunch of free agent signings I was going to get you to hit on. First one, Jack Campbell goes to the Oilers, 5 over 5. We touched on this earlier. I'm right there with you. Like, Jack, thank you.
See you later, bud.
Yeah, but it's like, I'm if Oiler fans think that Jack Campbell is going to be the one to lead them to a Stanley Cup,
what a joke.
You didn't watch enough Jack Campbell. Yeah. Sorry.
Wait till he lets in a goal and he cries.
Yeah, like, it's not happening.
Yeah, good 5 years.
5 years.
The guy was his first year. I mean, I guess Tim Thomas was the only case I can think of where an older goalie took the reins and won a Stanley Cup, but I'm sorry. That is not the answer. Like 5 years. Yeah. That's what made all this Leaf stuff easier to swallow was that
Yes.
deal. It's like,
Yes.
see you later, bud.
One thing I wanted to ask you was, what's the weirder free agent signing? Claude Giroux signing with the Sens or Johnny Gaudreau signing with the Blue Jackets?
I think player wise, it's weirder for Gaudreau because it's what are you doing? But
both
Fran,
of them seem to be motivated by the same thing, where it's closer to where they live.
I think Gaudreau, it's like, what are you doing? Like, you just left a
right?
team that is pretty good, had a great year.
Yeah.
But organizationally, I find the Giroux one weirder.
But
why are you signing a guy who's past his prime?
Yeah,
I mean, they do need some leadership in there.
And they've got some good young pieces in there, and they
What was the
cap hit on that?
They just got Cam Talbot as their goalie, so like I can kind of get my head around that. Gaudreau, it's like Columbus. Columbus is
it's a joke.
Columbus? Yeah, it's ridiculous.
It's an absolute joke.
It is an absolute joke.
Yeah, I just find the Giroux one a little bit weird for the organization. I get you're trying to 6.5 a year.
Yeah, for 3 years.
3 years, like, okay, you can swallow that. Come in.
Yeah.
Like, how good are the Sens going to be? Like, they're not going to have to sign ridiculous contracts in the next 3 years. So, I kind of understand. You got Brady Tkachuk, and I don't know. They're going to have to sign massive contracts at some point. But that was just weird. It's just, I don't know. It just seems a lot of place. Like,
all right, Ryan. Well, we have a brand new goaltending tandem to look forward to. I'm sure there'll be a trade or two over the off season. It's July, so training camp is just around the corner, and we will be back for season 5 of the Talkin' Buds podcast. But we had to do an emergency episode because this warranted it. So once again, everybody, thank you so much for checking us out. If you like what you see, hit that like and subscribe button below. As I said earlier, we're in and out during the summer, but we will be back on our usual full-time schedule come the new season. Also, follow us on Instagram if you don't do that already, as well as TikTok. Spread the word. Tell your friends. We really appreciate it. We'll see you guys next time.